and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims, and these are the top diabetes stories and headlines of the past 7 days. In the News is brought to you by the T1D Exchange. The T1D Exchange is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving outcomes for the entire T1D population. Our top story this week, Delaware's governor signs a cap on the monthly cost of diabetes supplies and equipment into law. This caps the price at $35 a month. It is only for those on state insurance plans. But it's interesting because it's not just an insulin price cap. This cap, it includes blood glucose meters and strips, urine testing strips, syringes, CGMs, and insulin pump supplies. Overall, diabetes supplies account for about 15% of diabetes medical expenses. On average, people with diabetes, even those with private insurance, spend almost $500 out of pocket on diabetes-related supplies each year. A new report estimates 1.3 million adults with diabetes have rationed their use of insulin within the last year. That is 16.5% of everyone who's been prescribed insulin. We told you about this report published last month, but it's getting more attention, and it should. The Washington Post picked it up for a series of reports they're doing on health stats. The report attributes the rationing to the cost of the drug and what it describes as inadequate insurance coverage. The price of the 4 most popular types of insulin has tripled in the past decade, according to the American Diabetes Association. One of those insulin makers will begin rolling out a new diabetes management platform in the next few weeks. Lilly is launching the Tempo platform, which includes pre-filled disposable pens for insulin delivery with a mobile app and a smart button, which is designed to track the pen's insulin dosages. The Tempo Smart button was cleared by the FDA in September, and when you click it onto the top of a branded pen, it takes in and stores insulin dosing data, and then that goes to the app. This is similar to Bigfoot's Smart Pen and the InPen system, which is now owned by Medtronic. Tempo Smart, Lilly's system, can connect to other devices and apps like Dexcom, Lilly's own meters, and also Fitbit, Garmin, Google, and Apple. New research at Georgia Tech shows promise in beta cell transplantation without having to take additional immunosuppressive drugs. This is cell therapy with a new biomaterial called iTol100, and that is the basis of a new startup called iTolerance. Long way to go here, but a lot of promise for many other conditions as well as type 1. And this is less cell encapsulation, as other companies are working toward. It's more of a soft material that can mix right with the cells at the time of transplant. This research started with a 3-year grant from JDRF. Not a big surprise, but children diagnosed while in DKA seem to have an increased risk of health issues later on. These issues can include extended stays in the hospital or long-term control of blood sugar levels and even a higher mortality rate. These researchers say more screening is needed and more awareness among physicians of the symptoms of type 1 diabetes to catch these cases before the kids go into DKA. New weekly injection for type 2 has some promising results, helping people meet blood glucose goals 4 to 12 weeks earlier than those taking traditional medications. The new medication is called tirzepatide. It has the brand named Mounjaro. It helped people meet weight loss and blood glucose targets 4 weeks sooner than semaglutide, which is branded as Ozempic or Wegovy, and between 4 and 12 weeks sooner than those treated with once-daily long-acting insulin like Tresiba. A quick clarification from last week, actually a correction. I mentioned a study showing that people with type 1 see good results from taking GLP-1 receptor agonists and SGLT2 inhibitors, 2 types of drugs approved for type 2. I had said that both also increase the risk of DKA, and that is not right. I got it wrong. Only SGLT2 inhibitors seem to increase that risk. The GLP-1 medications do not. I will re-link up the study. The study is right. It was my interpretation of it that was confusing. More to come in just a moment, but first, the T1D Exchange Registry. I really want to urge you to check this out if you haven't already. It's super easy to get your voice heard, to weigh in on issues that matter, and to actually influence policy. They ask questions of the day, and they actually use that in research. It's not like on Facebook where you vent or you put something out, and then it kind of disappears into the ether, and that's kind of best case on Facebook. But with the T1D Exchange, the information you share really matters. It's confidential in a way that a lot of social media is not these days, unfortunately, and your participation is fully voluntary. You're going to be able to complete surveys or sign up for studies. This is all about generating evidence to support policy or insurance changes that help the community. They really need your help. They really need your experiences. You can advance meaningful type 1 treatment, care, and policy. Please check it out, t1dregistry.org/Stacey. That is t1dregistry.org/STACEY. Quick note about events. I am heading this weekend to Macy's Believers. I'm thrilled to be part of that event again, keeping my fingers crossed that the weather, the hurricane or tropical storm now, is past. And I also want you to know about a diabetes chat I'm taking part in over on Twitter. This is going to be a Twitter space. My accounts are Stacey Sims or Diabetes Connections. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, it's Diabetes CXNS, Diabetes Connections that way. And this is a weekend-long diabetes chat in honor of World Diabetes Day, which is, of course, on Monday. So I'm really excited to take part in that. My time is 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, but it does go for 24 hours, so definitely check it out. Next week on the show, we're going to be talking about Eversense. Their E3 got approval in Europe. It was approved in the U.S. earlier this year, and I took this opportunity to talk to them about what's next, and they are cooking up a lot of new products. This is the implantable CGM, but that really seems to be just the beginning, so you'll hear more from them. Last week's episode was all about Type 1 Talks, a great YouTube channel with Tom. He shared his story. I found Tom because I was looking for information on how to restart a Dexcom sensor, and I learned a lot more from there. So you can check out that episode wherever you're listening to this episode. And that is it for In the News this week. If you like it, please share it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Stacey Sims, and I will see you back here soon.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.